move that we accept the agenda as presented.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the agenda as stated. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carried. 002, discussion, presentation of options for USD 105 bond project.
Right. We just wanted to welcome everybody. I think this is the third time we've met as a community, just in the process of the bond. We've also had meetings right after the fire happened and things like that. I just want to welcome you and kind of show you the progress that we've made. Greg and his team are here again to help us with that, and then we'll have questions at the end as well, like what we've done in other meetings.
Okay.
Yep.
I do need that.
You do need that?
Yes. There you go.
Testing.
Just write it down, I'll yell.
There you go.
That's the one.
Everybody awake?
Shall we try and get started? Do you want me to try? I know some people will be back. Can't make everybody happy. Just move forward. Yeah, I guess.
Hit it once, see if it hooked up to something.
Or yeah, somebody else.
Yes. Is that better? Test. Try that. Well, again, thanks for everybody for coming out tonight. We want to start out by giving an update of where we're at. We know this has been a tough couple weeks, seeing the building come down, a lot of emotions around that, and it's not fun to see that happen. We've shown some examples. We have a picture up here, some of the demo. There's a live feed that you can watch it on, streaming on the computer as well. Right now, we've been working with the State Fire Marshal's office to get the gym up and running. Barry's here with McCown Gordon, Barry Schmidt as well, if you have questions about the construction piece of it. But right now, we have our drawings in with the Kansas State Fire Marshal. The expectation is that pretty confident that we're going to be able to use the gym for practices at a minimum. We're still working with them on can we use it for competitions. And so it really comes down to exiting. We think we have it covered, but you never know what the Kansas State Fire Marshal is going to come back with, so we don't want to overpromise. But that would allow us to really have that as a functional gym for you guys. I mean, one of the reasons this has taken a little bit longer is we had volleyball practice in here tonight, and so we had to get set up after that. So it would really free some things up. But we do think that we'll have that ready by the time school starts in August, that it can be used for practices, and just got a few little hurdles to get over before that happens. Yeah. We've had a fair amount of success in saving some of the pieces on the school. You can see here some examples of the pieces that have been saved that we're going to try and incorporate into some parts of the new school. They've had a real difficult time with the front arch entry. They tried for days to get that to come down, but it was really built to last. And they even tried to, over the last few days, to knock it down to one piece and see if it would kind of still be able to be saved. but most of the pieces broke. There are some pieces that they say they've saved that they think we can create new forms and make and then create a new archway that way. So we're still trying to figure out exactly the best option of how we're going to do that. Some of the things that we've discussed, nothing has been set in stone yet, is maybe we reuse the stone entries at the entry to the media centers inside the building. We don't use them on the outside of the building. Or we use them in a couple other areas inside, maybe it's a new gym entrance on the inside. So there will be ways that we can incorporate different aspects of that in there that I think will be a nice reflection on what the building was in the past. But it also allows us a great opportunity to create a new school building moving forward as well, and you'll see us really tie the buildings together. Obviously, the gym is staying there, and so we need to have some tie back to that. We're not just going to create some kind of completely different looking school all over. So you'll see it tie in as we move a little bit further along here. So I think in case we have heard some people haven't understood exactly what's all included, so I just wanted to go over that. We are moving forward. The question on the ballot will be for a new 2-story K-12 building that meets the educational needs of our community now and in the future. So there's still some, and one of the hardest things about communication is just getting it out to everybody. And we still heard there's confusion or maybe questions about why a K-12 building and not a 7 through 12 building. We have the options right now. The school board has approved us to move forward with drawings for a 7-12 portion of the building. So we'll know August 6th if we're going to move forward with the elementary portion of the building. And so that's a question that still can be determined. Nothing set in stone as far as what direction, but we felt that it was really important to have one question on the ballot and not confuse it with more than one question. When you see the ballot language, it's easy for us to ask one question, one simple sentence in a ballot, in a community survey, but the ballot question ends up being like half a page long. And when we have several ballot questions like that, it's just very difficult to communicate everything that has to be understood about that. So that's why we have one question for a K-12 building. I've heard rumblings that there's still some questions of why a K-12, is that the best scenario? Is that the best configuration for education? And we have studied this throughout Kansas, and every K-12 school that we see in Kansas really loves that format, and they do not have problems with bullying. They don't have problems with littles being with the older kids. There's a lot of mentorship opportunities, and I think there were even some testimonies here on previous community meetings where some people have said, having kind of the trial run of this building having to be used for the K-12 at the first part of this year really showed a lot of what that configuration can look like. And we had parents give testimonies that they would go home and they loved the fact that their kids were all together in one school. There's also been 2 community surveys done. We had, just make sure I get it right, the first community survey was on January 25th, and we had 420 responses, and I think we had a 73% yes vote on that community, 73% vote in favor of a K-12 school configuration. We also then followed it up with another survey on April 24th, and we had 390 responses, and we had a very similar number, about 70%, I think it was, in favor of a K-12 configuration. The school also surveyed the staff and the students. 98% of the staff are in favor of a K-12 configuration. They see it every day. They see the benefits that it can have for kids. So having a 98% support for a K-12 configuration with the staff, you think says a lot. So those are basically some of the reasons how we got to one question and a K-12 configuration. What can happen? There's also been the question of what happens on August 6th if it doesn't pass. What will happen then? And that has to be determined by the school board. So the school board would then decide when they want to have another election. The soonest they could do it, and the one that makes the most sense, is in the November 5th general election vote. And the school board would have to determine at that point, do you want to go back with the same question? Do you want to change the question to a 712 question? It doesn't, the school board has any option they want to if it fails. And so sometimes we see school boards say, well, it was a really close vote, let's try again. Sometimes we say, well, it was pretty obvious that that wasn't supported, so let's go a different direction. That's really what the school board will have to determine if it doesn't pass on August 6th. So just want to make sure that was understood. Let me go back to this. Building modern classrooms for every student and teacher. There's been some questions also about capacity. We tried to address this, and you'll be seeing more information about this. But right now, there's about 16 kids per classroom, and for the negotiated contract, the class sizes can be up to 22 students. So that allows for 12 students per grade of an increase without any size increase for the classroom spaces. And the classrooms are designed more than adequately to accommodate that. The classroom sizes are roughly 700 square feet per class. If I use the code, we have to use 20 or 50 square, trying to do the math here real quick because I had the number in my head, but it would allow us to have up to 35 kids in that classroom if we followed the code. But we're not going to cram 35 kids in the classroom. The negotiated agreement with the staff allows for up to 22. So we figured that there could be, I think, a 40% increase in the school of student population without having to add any classrooms, without having to cram anybody in, and it would easily accommodate the need for that. The new addition will include a top-loaded gym, competition gym, band room, community fitness center, weight room, wrestling room, storm shelter, athletic training, storage, and 2 locker rooms. The top-loaded gym, when we say a top-loaded gym, the main level of the gym, of the track, the walking track, will be at the same main level of the school. So when you walk into the entry of the school, you will be at the same level as the walking track. And the idea is that you can come and use the commons area, cafeteria as part of the concessions and games, and they'll be all conveniently accessed through that. We had heard also that maybe some people thought maybe it was on the 2nd level, so we wanted to clarify that. We're renovating the existing gym and locker rooms. That's going on now. We're renovating the ag shop, the playground space for elementary outdoor activities. I'm going to show you in a second. Elementary drop-off area at the south end and bus drop-off at the north end, and substantial parking spaces for regular school day events as well. So this is a site plan that we have put together. It shows the parking. We're showing about new parking. We're showing about 117 spaces. The portables are still showing up on the northeast corner, and when those go away, additional parking could be wrapped around there as well. So there will be plenty of parking available for overflow. The playground. The playground is over here. This is about an 8,000 square foot playground for the elementary school kids, and it kind of wraps around this area right here. What we're showing in our rendering is a gate right there, so there will be some deliveries that come down that road. Most deliveries happen before school starts, around 7 a.m. in the morning. So the thought is that this can be gated off, and so crossing this road is not going to be dangerous. We know there's parking up here. If you look closely, it's hard to see up here, or hard to see on the screen, but there are still parking spaces here. And our thought on this would be that this area would be concrete, so there could be a hard court playing surface, and then it would extend over into more of a kickball area over to the south end of that area. There's some grading we have to do, some retaining walls that we have to put in, but that whole area, including that 8,000 square feet, is 28,000 square feet of playground area. Right now, the area that we have out here is 18,000 square feet. So I know there's the other one over here that's used as well. So we think we've adequately accommodated for basically an equal amount of playground space to what you currently have. This is a rendering of that. This would show the area for the kind of little pit area. This would all be fenced in with gates as well, so that, for security reasons and containment, you're not going to lose a little one running off. This shows the gate and this shows the hardcourt area and the parking area. So the idea here is that during the day this can be used for basketball, nice square things like that, and then we still have a concrete parking area that can be used for football parking. These are updated floor plans. We spent a lot of time, we met with staff, teachers, administrators, etc., just on the configuration of everything and what needs to be done in each classroom. We're still tweaking this. This is going to be tweaked all along the way, but we're getting closer, and feel free to come and take a closer look at this as well. And you'll be getting this in the mail as well, so you can see it there. Basically, we still have the top loaded gym is here with the walking track. So you would enter right here, the main entrance off the north side, and then there'd be you'd have to come into the main office right here before you have access to the rest of the school. This would also be the access for basketball games, and then we could close off the rest of the school, and then you come through this entrance for basketball games, then be able to use this cafeteria space for concessions and things like that. We have a couple renderings of what this cafeteria can look like, and the idea is that these seats that we have shown retract up against that wall, more like auditorium seating, and we're striving to accommodate 500 people in that space for the cafeteria. Behind that is a stage with a music room, and then a separate band room over in this area, and then this is the weight room on the second floor. Below this area is the basketball court. These stands would push up against the wall, 2 side walls, and then we have wrestling room and 2 locker rooms there. On the blue areas that we're showing is the junior, senior high school part. The kind of yellow-orange area to the right is the elementary through 6th grade, and then the green areas are shared common areas. Media center being located right here, and if we're looking to do something that really kind of sets the stage for that media center to be right at the top of the hill as you're looking up. On the second floor, we've located really most of the high school classrooms. We do have junior high science and high school science that share a lab in the middle here, and then this would be like a high school commons area, thinking that we can create an area for the high schoolers to kind of have in their own space. It's going to help that separation between the elementary kids and the high school kids as well. And then the elementary, as I said, on the first and second floor is on the east side or south side of the school, and we've used the little theater as well for some classroom space. So this is just a concept rendering of what the cafeteria can look like. During the day, we have seating for dining and for the cafeteria. We still have the stage here. This is how these, on the left, that's how the bleachers would push up against the wall. This area shows upstairs a balcony that would kind of overlook that, where there could be seating for shows as well, performances. And then these glass doors over here look out over into the gym. This is where you go, this is where that walking track is that goes around at that same level. So you're going through the cafeteria space, right out onto that walking track, pretty conveniently. Then when we want to use it for performance, our thoughts are that we would use these theater curtains to really bring them out and then close off the glass, looking out onto the basketball court, making it more performance space. We'd have this on both sides, and then be able to bring out seating out in front here to where you have good sight lines and it feels like a performance space, not a cafeteria. This is a concept of a gym. This is really based on one we've done at another high school. Again, this is the walking track that you can see people walking on. A little squished on here, we're kind of losing the sides of it, but then you have the courts below. And then we have just a concept rendering of the media center that would be located in between, that would be shared elementary, junior, senior high school. This is the elementary side where we have, you go into the main office through this vestibule door before you can access the rest of the elementary school area for security purposes. We've got Head Start, special ed, first grade and kindergarten on the first floor. We have elementary art over in the existing gym classroom space. And this is a concept of what that, where it says this common space right here. This is just a concept of how that could be used. We've got a little kind of seating area with stairs for reading, different activities that can happen, and then a kind of a common space that can be used for group activities out in the middle. Kind of got to do that. This is the rendering of the science classroom lab space. We've got to do that as well. And then on the second floor of the elementary, we have second grade, third grade, fourth grade, and fifth grade classrooms. We have located the high school art in the BOAG building. We did that for a couple of reasons. It's actually the largest space that we can give the art room by putting it over there where the old wrestling room is. This will be a completely renovated space, and it also gives access to an outdoor kind of concrete area that they can go do art activities outside. And this has actually been a little bit reconfigured since we met with the art room teacher to where it's been reoriented, so we'll get some north light coming out of the windows on the north side there. And so I want to go over the cost real quick and kind of clarify that. So right now, you guys have a 50.032 district mill levy. That's what the school assesses for property taxes. You guys are one of the lower ones in the area right now. Winter's up at 75, Dayton's at 68, Tribune's at 63. So right now you're at 50. And this is how this would be paid for. So on the ballot on August 6th, there'll be two questions. One will be more than two questions, but there'll be two questions that are relevant to this project. With a 1 cent county sales tax or 1% county sales tax, for $100,000 residential property, it would be an increase of $23 a month for a house. What happens on August 6th, if the county sales tax passes, basically it's the same bond amount, but the amount of property tax will be reduced because the county sales tax would offset some of the property tax. So for instance, that same $100,000 house, that's $23 a month with the county sales tax, becomes $31 a month if the county sales tax doesn't pass. On a $100,000 commercial property, it's $50 per month increase with the county sales tax, $67 per month without the 1 cent sales tax. And then we've used some averages for agricultural property. We always try to be careful about agricultural property when we put this on here because it's just an average of the area. So every farmer's taxed based on their productivity. So every farmer will be a little bit different than this. So you really need to look at your own productivity value on the land and see how that is changed. But basically, the best we can come up with is the dry crop land annually, not monthly. These top ones are monthly, but annually per acre will be $1.30 increase for dry crop land. If the county sales tax does not pass, that same land will be $1.78 per acre annually. Irrigated land, $3.46 versus $4.69. Grassland, 23 cents per acre annually versus 31 cents per acre annually without the county sales tax. So with the proceeds from a 1 cent county sales tax and for a $29.9 million 30-year bond, the mill increase would be 24 mills. And USD 105's current total mill rate is 50.032, so that would obviously be 74.032 for total mill tax by the district. if the county sales tax passes, it has been factored in that it would provide $509,000, $509,250 per year for the county sales tax. So that is what the finance people at Piper Sandler put together, talking to people at the county and gotten to that point. But they always like to use a very conservative amount. That over the 30-year term of this bond, that number that they have used stays the same at $509,000. No increase of more taxes that are generated from inflation or from development or anything like that, new business coming in. None of that has been factored into that. So what they have often seen is that the bonds will pay off much faster than the 30 years. So we try and give a conservative approach to this, so we're not over-promising and can't back that up. So that is how that works for that piece of it. And then we want to show you this. This mailer is going to be coming in your mail. I think we're sending it out tomorrow. So you all should be getting it. Everybody in the district will get one of these mailers. You'll be seeing more information that comes out over the next 3 or 4 weeks. There's a lot of information. You see the floor plans, you see the renderings. We have the tax information on here. Most of the information that I have in this presentation is on here, and there's also other handouts as well that we have. One other fact that I thought was interesting that we heard tonight is that 34% of the property tax that's paid for this bond will be paid for by people who don't live in this area. There are landowners from outside the school district, outside the county that will be paying for the bond. So that is also kind of a benefit that you see the burdens being spread out as much as we can. So. And that's really the presentation. Then we just want to open it up for questions. I know there'll be another community meeting later, but so open to any questions.
We can just share this if we need to.
Yeah. Oh, there you go.
There you go.
There you go.
It's open. Don't be shy. One thing that I haven't noticed, and I didn't study it carefully, is there an elevator?
Oh, yeah.
So the elevator is located right here. We're located in a spot that is fairly central to the rest of the building, but also has access to the gym below. And so anybody who needs an elevator would come in through here, obviously, and then get in the elevator to be able to go down onto the court, or you can go up to the second level from that location also.
Right below the gym.
The bottom right corner of the gym, it's the X. Looks like an X. An X on there.
So you said the existing gym would be able to be used for practices. Will it eventually be able to be used for games.
Yeah, the one issue that we have to get past with the Kansas State Fire Marshal is the exiting part. And so with the capacity of the gym, we just want to make sure that they're going to be okay with how we're exiting. And if they don't like how we do it right now, we'll work with them to modify it. It takes a while to work with the Kansas State Fire Marshal's office. When we submit plans, they have 30 days to review them. And then if they send it back to us, then we send it back to them. They have another 30 days to review it. So it's just a process that we have to get through. The hard part that we're working through with Barry's team is that we could potentially be building on both sides of the gym. So we just want to make sure we have we can safely exit people from the building with a larger capacity of people in there. We think we have a good plan and we think it'll go through. So yeah, we do think we'll be able to get there.
I have a question about the cost of the elementary school being moved to the high school versus maintenance and repair on the building. In the first community building, it was approximately 1.7 million to repair the elementary school with the overseeing maintenance issues and whatnot. And so in your pamphlet, it states that those costs are comparable. How has that changed?
So we looked at, in 2020, before COVID even, you guys had started a strategic planning and had approach and we're going to study what repairs needed to be done for the schools. So we didn't do it, but there was another architecture firm that did a needs assessment on what needed to be fixed at the elementary building. And there weren't costs associated from that at that point. When we looked at it, we were like, we can't afford to do everything on this list. So we looked at what would be the cost at first, for the first 5, that would get us past the first 5 years. And then as we studied it longer, we're like, well, do you really want to be repairing this building? Then you could basically spend not the same amount of money, but you could spend an additional amount of money that you kind of have to weigh. Is it worth spending a little bit more to get a brand new school, or do you keep spending money on this? And so we also looked at the fact that you're going to save the school district figured they could not have to spend $300,000 a year in operating costs for the building. They could spend that $300,000 a year towards different things like that would affect the education of the kids as opposed to doing repairs on this building. So over the course of the bond, that's $9 million, just in today's dollars. So we tried to weigh a lot of factors into that. I did hear today that there are still some concerns, like we just mentioned, that people want to understand that better. And I don't have all the numbers with me tonight, but we have heard that we need to address that. So we're going to send something out that answers that question.
Yeah, I think in the pamphlet it's misleading because it says those costs would closely compare, and you admitted yourself just now in our discussion that it would cost more. It's going to cost more to do that. But and my second concern is about appropriate inspection and maintenance on our buildings. I think one of the issues with this building is the can kind of got kicked down the road with maintenance, appropriate maintenance. I think some of those issues could have been fixed, when they were first noticed. And so I think that really needs to be addressed by the school board to make sure that we have appropriate inspection and maintenance on our buildings so that we don't have these issues in the future.
And that's a very good point. We were working with another school district who did a bond issue 10 years prior to when we did their bond issue, and because they had not maintained their boiler system, all their pipes were shot in 10 years. That system should have lasted 40 years. And so that didn't happen here, but just another example of, when you do a bond issue, you need to take care of your things. That still takes maintenance and right. Keeping things up to date. And to answer your question on the elementary piece again, you have to look at also, it is going to cost a little bit more, but you're also saving so much. I mean, even if you save even if you save $300,000 a year for 15 years, it's $4.5 million plus the savings that we would, or plus the cost that we would have put in here originally. It's just a matter, I guess, how you want to compare things. We think there's a lot of value and a lot of long-term value in how we can combine and create efficiencies for the school. By having a K-12 configuration, we see that a lot. So it's just, I guess, a matter how you want to compare.
And my last question is about the $300 savings. What factors were utilized in that calculation?
So it was based off of just the operating costs between the buildings, what this building costs, and I used a general average of the last couple of years, and then just there's also efficiencies that we can have with staff in the future, and how we operate. I don't think it'll be something that necessarily happens year one, but it'll happen over time. We don't want to lose good people because it's so hard to find staff, but over time we'll be able to work through and have some better efficiencies than the way that we're operating now.
So were the cost of operating this building as a whole, there was no consideration that parts of this building might be used, and that there still might be electricity bills, there still might be utilization of the gym or the kitchen or the superintendent's office, or, I mean, do you see where I'm going with that?
Yeah.
Was your calculation that this would be an empty building and that was a cost savings?
That was just with having everybody up there. I didn't take into account any costs in here.
Okay.
Personnel.
Yeah, and that's a question that I also has come up that I meant to say something about what happens with this building. I think there's still some questions about that. We did put that in the mailer about some options. Basically, the school board will have 2 years to determine what can and should happen with this building. We faced this issue with other school districts where, like the city of Heston had a similar issue where we've moved the middle school kids to the high school so they could save on those costs. And the question was, well, they don't want it just back on the taxpayers, because then that really hasn't saved the taxpayer anything, right? But there are some efficiencies that can be created, whether that's taking off the front classroom piece, which is actually not the greatest part, and then keeping the gym and maybe making this a community center. There's thoughts of selling the building. There's been discussions of tearing the whole thing down, and then creating lots for houses. So there's several options that the school has to consider, some of which will take it off of the any tax burden or any maintenance burden off of the taxpayer. Some of them could generate revenue. So that's something that the school board will have to decide in the next couple of years, but it's really not even a question we can move forward with until we know what the community will support if they want the K-12 building.
So if the vote fails on August 6th and we have to re-vote in November, does that push the school timeline back past where insurance is covering the mobile units to where the district will have to start paying?
It could potentially move that back to where the district would have to pay. We were able to get an extension on that time. Basically, it's covering through this next school year and the year after, and so it would just be if we could get that billed in that time frame, basically.
Yeah. So what we're trying to do right now is at least getting the north side under construction, all the construction on the north side of the existing gym started, and we're trying to do our drawings in a way that Barry's team can get started this fall with that construction. We really want and are trying to be able to dig foundations and do that by sometime this fall, so we don't have to deal with the winter conditions. If it goes to a November election, then that's going to push us into not starting until next spring. or digging in maybe less than ideal conditions, and it may just make a lot more sense to wait until next spring. So it will cause a delay. And I think the school board did a great job of at least wanting us to move forward with the 712 portion of the building, or the north side, knowing that they're being good stewards of taxpayer dollars, because we can still finish those drawings and start in the spring. And then if on August 6th the elementary part gets going, then we can still incorporate that in and start it at a later time, but still finish in a timely manner. But it gives us the best chance, really. We can't commit to an end date yet, but our goal would be to try and finish by December of 25, so we can get that second half of the school year for the kids who are graduating. And I've said this before, but my son missed his whole last part of the school year with COVID, because of COVID, and I wouldn't wish that on anybody. So being able to have the kids and be able to have them in the new school, even the second half of their senior year, I think is substantial and meaningful. And so we're doing our best to get there. Hopefully we can accomplish that. So,
if a K-12 did not pass, and in November a 712 was to pass, would that still delay construction, or is that statement based on doing a K through 12?
If it passes, if it were to pass on, say a 712 building were to pass on November 5th, then Barry's team would have to send those drawings out for bids. It's going to take them a month, 3 to 4 weeks at least, to get bids going. So, I mean, maybe you can start in December, but then you're still in winter. And so that's kind of.
But the length of construction would be shorter time.
The length of construction would be the same. I don't think there's any way we'd finish by.
So the length of construction, whether you build a 7 through 12 or a K through 12, is the same amount of length of time?
No, but the ability to get the 7 through 12 into, the question was, is the 7 through 12 and the K through 12 construction duration the same amount of time? And it's not. But what our goal would be is to get the 712 started, so we could get the 712 finished by December 25. So January 26, kids are in there. We don't have the same need for the elementary. The elementary can finish by May, and then have the elementary, because they still have use of this building, they can start, in August of 26th. And so we don't have to have the same needs for the elementary part as the same time frame needs as for the elementary part as would be for the high school. Yes.
Yes, I was wondering. Sometimes construction companies, we got to hurry up and get this done. Are we going to have competent people building our new school so that they're going to build it right and not take shortcuts to hurry up and get it done?
I'll let Barry answer that question.
No, Barry.
Well, thanks for the question. So part of our role as a construction manager is to make sure that the contractors that we're hiring are competent, qualified, and they can meet the manpower and the schedule durations that it takes to complete a project of this magnitude. So we have a lot of experience in building schools very similar to this throughout the state of Kansas, and we know the trade partners and what their capabilities are to be able to perform on a project like this. And we also know the trade partners that are getting out over their skis and probably aren't appropriate to be building in Northwest Kansas when they live Kansas City or Missouri. So that's part of my role specifically, is to make sure that we have the right trade partners on the project and that they're able to stand behind a product that is important to this community.
Yes, I just don't want to see a new building go up as fast as they can get it, because we want to get into it and then have structural problems or plumbing problems or something like that. So I want to make sure that the district knows that we have competent people doing their job, and we're not going to have plugged up toilets.
This one's coming for you, I can feel it.
Will the greenhouse be in any of these plans, or are we just losing it?
right now we're showing the greenhouse staying where it's at. When we talked to the staff, I think they said it was okay to stay there, right? I don't think it's a perfect location for it because it's going to be shaded by this gym, you know. I'd like to see it moved. We've talked about a couple different locations, but we're not talking about getting rid of it.
We're not.
So I have a question to the school board here. When you voted for a K through 12, was it a 7-0 vote on all in favor of that?
No, the vote for the actual K-12 was not the vote for to put it on the ballot was a 6-0 vote. We had a member who was absent that night.
But was there not a vote later to bring this back to put it back on the ballot as either a double vote or a vote on a 7 through 12? And did it not fail on a 4-3 vote?
The second vote, yes, it failed.
And if it passes in August and they demo the commons area, the bid that Spiritas put in there, is that part of the demo cost if you demo the commons area?
That amount hasn't been bid yet. Understanding that was kind of in flux, so they have the option to either accept that or reject it depending on the outcome of the vote.
So in other words, if it passes, there'd be an additional charge for demo in the commons area?
In addition to the amount that the contracted district has already signed, that is correct. That amount was planned for.
Okay, and then my question to you is I think it said in the paper that the school board offered or approved $400,000 for remodel of the gym and the commons area, or is it just the gym?
So it is the gym and a little bit in the commons and whatever is necessary to bring that system back online for use of the gymnasium in the fall for practices. Part of the challenge is there's some utilities, bathrooms, for example, fire alarm systems that are housed in the commons area that need to feed into that gymnasium. So in order for practices to be held and them to have bathroom facilities, they need that space in the commons. The work that's done in there is very minimal, like putting back in ceiling tiles, reinstalling the fire alarm panel, so it's very minimal work.
So most of the $400,000 is going into the gym?
That's correct.
So for the part that is not going in there, once they demo it, whatever money they put in to get the gym going was just going to be demoed and wasted?
No, we designed the thing that was really the critical part for being able to use the commons is a fire alarm system. So we have to put a new fire alarm panel into that side, but we designed it in a way that we're going to be able to use it for the future, and we can relocate it. And then we've also designed any of the utilities that are coming through that area to be able to do that as well. The one thing that I really don't agree with that they're making us do is put in ceiling tile in the commons area and band room, and I just don't understand why we'd have to do that, because we could have designed it to leave the whole thing exposed, but that's what the fire marshal said we had to do. But that ceiling tile can be reused. There was a question, I think at a board meeting, or some question about the transformer that we're going to be putting out there. So we were able to salvage the old transformer that was at the school, and it's going to be relocated right in front of the existing gym. It's not going to look very good when you see it. So I just want everybody to know that's not the final design. That's just where it's going to be temporarily located, and then we're going to use the same lines that we put in and relocate it so that it's not an eyesore sitting in front of the gym. But we're reusing all the lines that we put in, just relocating that later.
Anybody else?
Greg, this is for you. I'm just curious on the status of the plans. Are the plans, what % of the plans are actually done or close to being done where things could start if the vote works out in August?
Yeah, I mean, I would say for the for the 7-12 portion, and they're probably 30 to 40%, about 30% complete. Our goal is that we have some milestones, and I don't remember exactly the dates that we had put together with Barry's team. But do you remember those, Barry? The milestone dates that we had for completion? We're supposed to send out a set, I think it's the middle of September, right? And that set will have all of the foundations and all the utilities and main mechanical and electrical pieces complete, so that we won't be 100% complete with all of our drawings for the high school, but we'll have the portion of the drawings complete that Barry can go out and get bids on the concrete foundations, the structural steel, and the mechanical electrical pieces.
Okay, this is an old question from way back. Finished floor elevation on the gym versus the elevation of the track. How much higher is the floor in the gym versus the track?
The existing outside the track.
Well, I'm assuming that track
Like
stayed.
football field and all that.
Pardon me?
The existing football field and that track. You're not talking the interior running track. You're talking the outside.
I'm talking about the outside track, correct?
Yeah.
What's that elevation? What's the difference in the elevation?
The difference of the outside track versus which?
Which I believe, what I'm saying is I believe the finished floor in the gym's probably the lowest point in the building.
Yeah, that's correct. The finished floor of the lower level gym will be lower than the track.
Will be lower than the track.
Yeah, I don't have an exact number for you though, so I can look at it and tell you tomorrow, but I can't tell you off the top of my head.
So, will there be anybody in the design process running a hydraulic analysis of water coming down through the gym and running down the old track, and how that's going to be diverted so it doesn't come into the gym?
Yeah, what we do typically on these gyms is we put drain tile at 10 foot on center under the whole gym, and then we have a perimeter drain system, and that's all tied to some pumps that make sure any water stays out, and we completely waterproof that area as well.
That's interesting. That sounds a little risky. I hope it's adequate.
I've done it in 2 other locations. First one I did was in 2008, and the second one I did was only 2019, but we've never had any issue with doing it this way.
Okay, well, that's good. We'll hope for the best.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't think we just need to hope for the best, but we'll make sure we're covered.
Yeah, well, I mean.
I get what you're saying, though.
Well, I've just heard about water levels over the years based on a certain year of rainfall.
Yeah.
You know a little bit about hydraulics, maybe more than I do.
And it's not just the hydraulics and the groundwater, it's also all the rainwater, stormwater that comes through that track area that we have to make sure does not come back in. So,
right.
So
I'm
we're definitely taking.
Surprised it's setting that low. I thought it might set higher.
I don't have the exact number, but I'll look back into it. Yeah.
All right. Fair
Sorry.
enough.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think this is a question at all. It's more of a statement, well, a series of statements, possibly. One thing that I'm starting to hear from people in this room is doubt. Are we competent? Have we hired competency? Are we getting a building that's going to last hopefully another 100 years? And I just want to be a testament to the fact that our school board that's sitting here has spent countless hours and days out of their time to hire what appears to me to be the perfect team for the job. I have been nothing but impressed with the work that the school board has done to bring these people into this gym today. And the other thing is, if you just listen to Greg just one time, you'll find out that this is not something we're not a trial project here. I don't know if he does anything else besides build schools. I wasn't here for the beginning to, judge your qualifications, but you have example after example after example of how this kind of formulation has worked in towns exactly the same size as ours. And it's interesting to see that this is the movement in education. This is the future. I am personally very excited to be alive at this time and be involved with this process, not only paying for it, but planning for it and dreaming for it, because it's been a long time since anybody in this community has done so. So I think this is an amazing opportunity in our community to really embrace what's going on here, and instead of the doubt and the fears, maybe replace that with a dream. And I just really believe that this school configuration really is the answer to many questions that have been looming in the background, and it is the future for the next 100 years. And I think we have the perfect people on board for the job.
Thank you for that. I do have an answer to your question. I texted Kevin back at the office, and the outdoor track is actually, I was wrong. Outdoor track is actually 2 foot lower than the finished floor of the gym. So that's better, right?
And I just want to go on what Tara has said. Barry has a connection here, and I trust Barry, and I have full confidence that he is the right person, and he would not be doing this. He's got enough family that he's the right man. I know that.
Well, I guess to comment on that, I would just say you have a fantastic opportunity to impact the education of your community for ages to come, generations to come. I wish I could take you to the school project that we're doing in Heston right now. We started that project, I think it was in 21, and it was a tough project. And they had hexagon classrooms. They didn't have any windows in their classrooms. They didn't have, it was built as an open classroom environment that nobody liked, so they came back and built walls in these hexagons, and we had to go through classrooms to get to classrooms. It was terrible, and they've been dealing with that for the last 50 years. And they made a bold move. They hired us originally, and it was going to be a $20 million bond issue, and all they were going to do was basically deferred maintenance. And their planning committee said, we have to do better for our kids. They said, we don't want to be back here 20 years from now just doing deferred maintenance. We want to be improving the education of what we can provide for our kids and our community. And so we pushed the limit, honestly. It was a $33 million bond issue for Heston. But if you go there, and we're building one classroom wing right now because we had to take down part of the building, and then the high schoolers are going to start there in August, and this building that has every classroom has natural light in it, every classroom has windows. It's going to be such a much better educational environment for their community for years to come. And you guys have the same opportunity here to have such a big impact.
Can you go back to that slide with the mill levy? No, the one with the other schools. Right there it was. Okay, so the levy at Quinter is 75. We're at 50. We're going to go up to what?
74.
Okay, 74.2. But we also got to remember we're getting a brand new school. Brand new. K-12. Nobody else has that. Let's get the newest school in the state. Let's have the best school in the state. So let's vote yes.
speaking as an educator, it's not more than questions, it's more as comments, kind of both. We hired you guys as construction management and engineers because that's your field of expertise, correct?
Architecture.
Okay. Architecture,
Not
right? Okay. Well, you have a field of expertise that are called educators. And when you have a 98% field of expertise says that build the K through 12 because that's what we need and that's what your children need for moving forward. To me, that's an obvious obvious statement to the community members, taxpayers, who's ever invested in this community that says, hey, if they're the ones saying that this is what we need and this is their area of expertise, I would trust those people because I trust him wholeheartely with the school that he's putting together. I trust him wholeheartedly with everything that his team's coming, because that's not my field of expertise. I'm gonna put my faith in them because that's what they do, to say, you do you, and I'll do me. And as an educator, and the people that are sitting there saying, well, what are you gonna do with that, the grade school building? Well, if you only knew, come in, spend some time in an educator's classroom down here or anywhere else. So I'm just making a statement that maybe we should take the advice of those that are expertise in the field and that we're hired, and that when it comes to August, that when you vote yes, that it's for the best decision for your children and generations to come.
Okay, is there any other questions? Good.
So we're good. We'll have some more information coming out. The vote is August 6th. So we'll keep putting out more and more information. We'll also have another community meeting July 30th, excuse me, at the same time and in this location to share. Greg and his team, and I assume Barry, will be here then as well. So thank you all very much for coming. It's awesome to see the support. It's awesome to have these questions. We want to answer as many as we can. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to call me or email me. I'll answer the best I can, or I'll get you that answer if I can't.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded, we adjourn this meeting. All in favor? All opposed?